Your father tells me your dog is drinking beer on the other side. Because he's pouring beer like this. He goes, look, the dog likes Heineken, he's saying to me. I keep hearing I'm the father. So did your dad pass here in the physical?
His dad.
My dad.
Please know that he's here, because right away he was coming through on the other side to step forward and speak. And he goes to me, Matt, I can't believe my son is actually in front of a medium right now. He goes, I might never get this chance again. So he's telling me he's going to talk and speak. And it's actually funny because when I'm connecting with your father, he tells me this, right? First of all, when I'm speaking to him, your father was very self-taught here in this world. He shows me that he learned everything himself. And he says, Matt, he goes, do you know that my son is just like me? He's just like me, he's telling me. And he says to me that you remind him so much of himself, because your dad tells me that you don't like to pay other people. You like to do everything yourself when it comes to the house, when it comes to fixing things. It doesn't matter if it's the car, if it's the AC, if it's the plumbing. He tells me my son does it all. Is that true?
Yep, that's true.
And your father's going to Matt. He learns it all from me. In fact, your dad tells me that you still have tools of his. He's getting excited and tells me there's tools that you still kept of your father's.
I do.
He says to me, Matt, please let him know that when he has those tools, he says that I am right there with him. And you know what's so funny? Your father tells me there's two things that are important to me, Matt. He actually tells me three things. He says, my tools, my wallet, and my flashlight. How the hell do you connect with this flashlight?
I remember flashlights. Yes.
Okay. He says to me, like, I don't know if he was like obsessed with flashlights. He keeps showing me flashlights in front of me. And like, I feel like he always was like trying to switch out batteries. Like the flashlights would like never work.
Oh yeah, in his truck. He had a truck and he always had flashlight problems in the truck.
It's actually funny. He shows me that he used to have, he goes, this was my good one. And he shows me he had like the big, like, you know, I call it the policeman flashlight. I don't know if you understand that?
Yep.
He said to me, Matt, he goes, I could use this as a weapon or I could use it as a flashlight, he says to me.
Yep. He always had one in his truck behind his seat when he drove.
Shut the hell up. No wonder why. Because he was telling me, he goes, Matt, tell him this, tell him this. This was my favorite thing here in this world. He's telling me. It's actually funny because when I'm connecting with your dad and I'm looking at you, I feel like you look just like him. Because he's showing me the pictures of him and the pictures of you. He says to me, Matt, he goes, we look the same, but he's going to lose the beard, he says to me. And he's laughing about that when I'm connecting with him. He tells me this, your father was your best friend here in this world. And your father tells me this, he goes, Matt, what I want my son to know is that the one thing that God gave me that was so beautiful is our relationship with one another. He said, I so enjoyed him when he was younger, him when he was older, and him before I died, he tells me. But your dad also tells me there was one thing that I didn't enjoy. And your dad tells me that before his passing, he tells me that he changed as a person here in this world. Do you understand that? And he just said to me, Matt, please tell him, I'm sorry, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. What you don't know, and what I think you figured out after his passing, was that your dad tells me that there was a lot that was going on in his body here in this world when I'm connecting with him. And he tells me that he wasn't feeling good for quite some time when I'm speaking to him. But your dad wouldn't talk about this. He tells me that he kept a lot that was hidden. And he said to me that it presented itself in other ways because you had such a loving and beautiful relationship with your dad. And then all of a sudden, he tells me it's like his personality changed and you feel like he was a totally different person when he died.
Yeah.
Your dad tells me this. He says, Matt, please tell Nick, he says that I'm sorry for the way that I acted. I'm sorry for the things that I had said, but tell him that was not me. That was not me. And he's bringing that through. He also tells me he was drinking here in this world when I'm connecting with him.
Very much.
And please know that the reason why your dad was drinking was not because he did not love his life. Your dad is telling me, he also just said to me this, he goes, Matt, oh, wow, that's big for my son to reject a phone call. He goes, that's big. He must really want to hear this message. Your dad tells me this. He tells me he was drinking because he was in pain. When I'm connecting with this man, I feel pain like you would not believe. He shows me pain going down my back, in my stomach, in my abdomen, all of these different areas. And your dad shows me that when he was here, he used to drink to mask the pain and to mask what he was feeling. So please know that he said to me, Matt, I just wish that I was truthful. I wish that I told my son everything because he knows that you would have dropped everything to help him. But instead, he says, I tried to handle it myself. He says, I got into drinking. He says, and it cost me my life here in this world. And it also cost me my relationship with him. Your dad tells me that you've been suffering every single day because you have all these questions saying, does my dad see my wife? Does he see our life? Does he see our house? Does he see all these things? And your father says to me, Matt, I see everything. He says, and please let him know that he's never disappointed me. He needs you to know that. After his passing, were you trying to get his truck or his car here in this world?
Yes, I did. His truck.
He said to me, I can't believe this, Matt. I can't believe this. He says, talk about the truck, talk about the truck.
Yep, his
So
truck.
you kept it after your dad's passing.
I did get one of his cars, but I wanted his truck, and I wasn't able to get his truck because of my stepmother.
Please know that your dad tells me this. He knows that you wanted this. But at the end of the day, it's the things that we're holding on to that our loved ones see. So he tells me that you've been going through all this hurt and pain over that truck, over not being able to get it, over not being able to hold on to it. Your father just said to me, Matt, you need to let him know that at the end of the day, I'm still with him, whether he's in that truck or not. And the fact that you ended up with his car, it's just the same. He says to me, the one thing that he needs you to know is that he never meant to push you out of his life. He says, and because I did that, he tells me that he's making up for lost time right now by looking in on your life, by seeing everything that's going on with you. And your father just said to me, I wish that I would have gotten to have this conversation in person. It's actually funny because when I'm connecting with him, there's one other thing I got to tell you. Your dad tells me that you weren't allowed to see him when he died.
I wasn't allowed to see him when he died because I wanted to go see him. He passed away. I live in Colorado. He lived in Illinois. I wanted to go see him, and I was refused to be able to go see him. My stepmother would not let me.
Do you know that your dad says that's my fault, not hers? He says to me, Matt, he says, I didn't let anybody in. He says, and if there was one thing that I could have changed, it would have been that. So your dad's here, not to put guilt on other people, but to take responsibility. He says, because Matt, the only time my son can move forward in his life is if he knows this. So please know that he is okay. He is watching you every day, over you every day, even though sometimes you might not feel him. And this is his way of letting you know that he did make it to the other side. He does love you, and his soul is always with you. He also keeps telling me he's got your dog as well. So he just said to me, he goes, Matt, I don't want to put him over the edge, but can you tell me the dog's here?
Joey. Yeah.
So please know that the dog is there with your father. And listen, I'm going to say this once. I'm never going to say this again. I can't believe what I'm seeing right now. Your father tells me your dog is drinking beer on the other side. Why is he telling me this? Did you used to give the dog beer?
No, my dad just drank beer a lot. So
bullshit. He tells me the dog's drinking beer when I'm connecting because he's pouring beer like this. He goes, look, the dog likes Heineken, he's saying to me. And that's your dad's way of letting you know that not to worry because he's watching over your dog on the other side and with you every day.